I had mistaken the reigning princess of New York's high society for a broke college student, sponsoring her with $1,000 a month to keep her by my side for 3 years. It wasn't until graduation that I was forced to return home for an arranged marriage with my childhood sweetheart. Before I left, I handed my little pixie a check for $50,000. This is where we end things. I have to go home and get married. To my surprise, she exploded in fury. Logan Hayes, you want to dump me? Do you have any idea who I am? I didn't care. I dropped the check and rushed home. 3 days later, at a lavish gala for the city's elite, I saw her again. She was standing beside the host's seat at the main table, the center of attention, while my own parents bowed their heads to her with fawning respect. I froze on the spot. The woman I had been sponsoring was the untouchable heiress of the Sterling family. Just then, guests began making their way to the main table to offer toasts. My fiancé, Blair Monroe, stood and linked her arm through mine. Let's go. We need to toast Mr. Sterling. The main table was crowded. The old patriarch had already stepped away, leaving Serena Sterling to hold court. Seeing an opening, Blair gracefully approached Serena with her champagne flute raised. Miss Sterling, I'm Blair Monroe, from the Monroe family in Chicago. I've admired you from afar. Do you? Blair held her glass out, waiting for Serena to clink it. However, Serena made no move to lift her own. A curious murmur went through the crowd. No one knew how the Monroes had offended the formidable Sterling heiress. Even Blair was baffled. Before today, the Monroes and the Sterlings had no connection, and she had never met Serena. A flicker of panic crossed her face. Miss Sterling, forgive my forwardness, but has my family done something to offend you? Serena suddenly rose to her feet. Her gaze cut past Blair, landing on the man standing behind her. Her expression was icy, her pale skin giving her an ethereal, otherworldly beauty, but her voice trembled with a hint of emotion. You'll have to ask your Mr. Hayes about that. Instantly, every eye in the room swiveled to me. Many had already noticed the man in the tailored suit who looked like he'd stepped off a movie screen. Now, dozens of scrutinizing gazes were fixed on me. I never thought she'd make a scene like this. Blair had already turned, her eyes cold, her voice sharp with accusation. Logan, explain yourself. What is going on? Blair felt as if she'd been struck. How could Logan Hayes possibly know Serena Sterling, let alone have offended her? Could there be something between them? He stepped forward with a wry smile. I didn't realize Miss Sterling held such a grudge. It was 3 years ago. I was out driving, and accidentally scraped your precious car. I didn't know who you were at the time, so I just left $1,000 and went on my way. I'm impressed you still remember it. Trapped, I had to invent a lie. I couldn't very well announce that I'd been sleeping with her for 3 years and had just broken up with her a few days ago. A wave of understanding passed through the crowd. Blair, too, unconsciously relaxed. She wasn't sure why, but for a moment she had been terrified there was some sordid history between us. Then, she turned on me, her voice dripping with disdain. Miss Sterling's car is undoubtedly priceless. Your $1,000 was an insult. Get over here and apologize to her this instant. Everyone watched as Blair publicly berated me, whispering about how this live-in son-in-law had no backbone, being dressed down by his own fiancé. I paid them no mind. Glass in hand, I approached Serena. 3 years ago, I was blind and foolish. I was out of line. I apologize, Miss Sterling. I hope you can find it in your heart to let it go. Serena's voice was soft, but laced with malice. Mr. Hayes, do you really think a single, weak glass of champagne can erase 3 years of my resentment? I maintained my penitent act. Then what would it take for Miss Sterling to feel appeased? Serena picked up an unopened bottle of whiskey from the table. This might be a start. The crowd gasped. This New York heiress was unbelievably petty, holding a grudge over a scratched car for 3 years. As they made mental notes never to cross her, they shot me sympathetic glances. Someone at the table began pouring, filling 10 glasses and lining them up neatly. Serena's eyes bored into me. Mr. Hayes, if you please. He smiled. Suddenly, it seemed like a bottle of whiskey was a small price to pay to end our twisted 3-year affair. He stepped forward and picked up one of the glasses. Miss Sterling, you have my word. I drink this, and our debt is settled. You will also drop any prejudice against the Monroe Corporation. A small, triumphant smile touched Serena's lips. Of course. I raised the glass. Just as I was about to drink, someone next to me whispered audibly, Mr. Hayes is so selfless, always putting the Monroe family first. But his wife just stands there, not even defending her own husband. The words clearly reached Blair. Her face flushed, a mixture of shame and anger. Finally she spoke up. He's my husband. I can drink this with him. She expected Serena to refuse, but the heiress simply shrugged. Mrs. Hayes is quite the devoted wife. Go on, then. Blair felt a bitter sting as she forced down the whiskey. The moment she finished, she swayed, looking as if she might collapse. I knew better than anyone that Blair couldn't hold her liquor. Need more to go. I'll take them. With that, I began downing the glasses, one after another. Soon, only the last one remained. The crowd watched in stunned silence. It wasn't rare to see a man who could drink, but to do it with such effortless style was something else. He drank with a relaxed grace, exuding an almost lazy charm. When I set the final glass down, the onlookers erupted in spontaneous applause. My expression remained unchanged, though a slight flush on my cheeks made me look more alive. The drinks are finished. Is Miss Sterling satisfied now? I asked, my voice edged with meaning. Serena's expression was colder than before. After a long moment, she smirked. Mr. Hayes and Miss Monroe are truly a picture of devotion. With that, she turned and sat down, her interest completely gone. Other guests rushed forward to offer their own toasts, and the small drama was over. I helped us shaky Blair back to our seats. Blair was miserable, her stomach churning. A wave of nausea hit her. She struggled to her feet. I need the restroom, she mumbled. I sat down, my mind numb, my eyes drifting back to the main table. As I stared off, I felt a sudden cold splash across my chest. A full glass of red wine soaked my shirt. Then came Carter Hayes' Fox apology. Oh, sorry, bro. I was just heading over to offer a toast, and tripped on the rug. I looked up, a flash of anger in my eyes. It was obvious Carter had done it on purpose. He had seen me become the center of attention at the main table and wanted to humiliate me. Mom, what should I do? I've ruined his clothes, Carter said, feigning concern. Our mother, Victoria Hayes, glanced at me dismissively. He's been taking things from you his whole life, Carter. It's just a shirt. He won't mind. She then led Carter away. As he left, he shot me a smug, triumphant grin over his shoulder. I watched Victoria's retreating back, a familiar itch in my chest. I was suddenly thrown back 3 years, to the night the paternity test results came in. Victoria had slapped me hard twice. You're the son of that bitch. All this time, I've been raising my enemy's child like he was my own. Why don't you just die? Why aren't you dead? For 3 years, that memory had been a shard of glass in my heart. The people around me were starting to whisper. That was too much. Carter Hayes did that on purpose. And how can Mrs. Hayes be so biased? He may not be her biological son, but she raised him for 25 years. Doesn't that mean anything? A few young women who had witnessed the scene came over, expressing their sympathy. I just waved them off. Just then, the old patriarch, Mr. Sterling, approached. Still haven't cleaned that up. Lily, fetch Mr. Hayes a clean set of clothes. Mr. Hayes, come upstairs with me. I'll find you something new, a young woman said. I looked up to see it was another Sterling daughter, Lily. I didn't refuse. Thank you, Miss Sterling. I appreciate it. I followed Lily to a side elevator, and then down a long hallway that overlooked the ballroom below. As I glanced toward the main table, I noticed Serena was gone. Lily stopped at a door. Mr. Hayes, if you could just wait in here, I'll go get the clothes. I nodded and stepped inside. A few moments later, Lily returned with a fresh shirt and pants. I hope the size is right. It'll be fine. Thank you, they said. Lily smiled. I'll leave you to it, then. Come down when you're ready. She left, closing the door behind her. I walked over to the sofa, and began to undress. I was halfway through when I heard a click at the door. The door swung open without warning. I instinctively turned, my eyes meeting the cool, crystalline gaze of a woman. Serena's eyes widened slightly when she saw me changing. She quickly stepped inside, turned her back to me, and shut the door. Realizing who it was, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Miss Sterling. She stared at me intently. What are you doing here? My clothes got soaked with wine. I came up to change. Serena's eyes narrowed. You don't know this is my room. I was taken aback. I had no idea. Lily didn't say. She just said this room hadn't been used in years. Serena raised a delicate eyebrow. She wasn't wrong. I've been living at Stardust Villa for the past 3 years. The mention of Stardust Villa hung in the air, thick with unspoken memories. My mind involuntarily flashed back to everything that had happened between us there. Seeing the blush creep up my neck, Serena's mood visibly brightened. You should get changed. We'll talk after. It was only then that I remembered I was still half, I believe the phrase has evered your eyes, Miss Sterling. She strolled over and sat on the very sofa where I had placed my clean clothes, her gaze becoming even more brazen. This was the same audacious woman I had sponsored for 3 years. We had slept together countless times, there was nothing left to see. Nonchalantly, I put down my soiled clothes and reached for the clean set on the sofa, my toned body and six-pack on full display. Serena's pupils contracted as memories flooded her mind. A slender arm shot out, wrapping around my waist. A fiery, demanding kiss crashed down on me. I didn't resist. I knew how intoxicating her kisses were. If I could enjoy one more for free, why not? Just as things were getting heated, my phone buzzed. I tried to push her off. I've got a call. Serena swatted the phone away. Ignore it. But I pressed on, a smirk playing on my lips. It's my wife calling. I really should take it. That one sentence was like a bucket of ice water. Serena immediately recoiled and stood up. I casually answered the phone. Where are you? Blair's voice was much clearer now. My shirt got ruined. I'm changing. I'll be right down. Stop worrying. Blair hung up. I put my phone away and started dressing. Serena spoke from the side. Logan, we need to talk. Once I was dressed, I looked at her. About what? Serena's expression was serious. Leave Blair Monroe. Come be with me. I laughed. She frowned. What's so funny? You want me to give up my status as the Monroe family's son-in-law to be your secret lover? I asked, incredulous. Is that title so precious to you? She shot back. I nodded. Of course. The Monroes might not be the Sterlings, but being their son-in-law carries a lot more dignity than being your dirty little secret. I have no intention of keeping you a secret, she said. I looked at her skeptically. Are you saying you want to marry me? She fell silent. I shrugged it off. Miss Sterling, this was just a game. Why get serious now? You had your fun for 3 years, and so did I. I'll overlook the fact that you lied to me about who you were if you overlook how I neglected and disrespected you. Can't we just call it even and walk away? I couldn't figure her out. A pampered heiress, willingly letting me keep her like a mistress. Looking back, I had been incredibly dismissive of her. I ignored her calls, cancelled plans, and even took out my bad moods on her. I treated her like a pet, a convenience I could summon or dismiss at will. Had I known who she was, I admit, I never would have dared. And yet, for 3 years, she never revealed her identity. Did the great Serena Sterling have a secret masochistic streak? The coldness in her eyes was frightening. She looked like an enraged vampire, ready to sink her teeth into my neck and drain me dry. Logan, she asked, do you love your wife? Of course, I nodded. I wouldn't have married her otherwise. She doesn't love you, Serena pressed. She's having an affair. I looked at her calmly. I know. That threw her. You know. And you still love her. Blair and I are childhood sweethearts. We've known each other for over 15 years. It's a bond others can't understand, I explained. We were engaged since we were kids. If it weren't for that incident, I wouldn't have had to marry into her family. Besides, the Monroes treat me well. It's not so bad. Blair and I might have our misunderstandings now, but I believe she'll come back to me one day. In truth, I hadn't loved Blair for a long time. But I hoped this story would be enough to make this powerful heiress finally give up. Serena's face contorted with fury. So your affair, sponsoring me. Was I just a tool for you to get revenge on your wife? I hesitated for a moment, then answered honestly. Yes, that's exactly what it was. I quickly added, but I didn't know who you were. If I had, I swear I never would have touched you. A bitter, sarcastic smile twisted her lips. So after 3 years, I, Serena Sterling, was nothing more than a pawn in someone's revenge plot. Well played, Logan. Well played. Seeing her expression, a sense of dread washed over me. Sure enough, in the next second, she stood up and grabbed my chin. Logan Hayes, no one in this world uses me as a tool and then throws me away. If anyone's doing the dumping, it'll be me dumping you. With that, she stormed out of the room. I stood there for a moment, stunned, before following her out. After getting sick, Blair was much more sober. She didn't see me come down, and didn't seem to care. After the party, Blair and I left the Sterling mansion. I rolled down the car window, an inexplicable sense of unease settling over me. I felt like I had just poked a sleeping dragon. When the car reached the city, it stopped at a subway entrance. Blair, with her eyes closed, didn't even look at me. Logan, I have plans tonight. I won't be coming home. You can find your own way back. She was going to see her lover. I knew it. I quietly got out of the car and hailed a cab back to the Monroe family's old house. Mrs. Monroe saw me arrive alone and guessed what had happened. She was about to go fetch Blair herself, but I stopped her. Let it go, Mom. Her heart isn't here anymore. Forcing her to come back will only make things worse. Just let her be. With that, I went upstairs. It was rare for Mrs. Monroe to see me so dejected, and she wondered what had happened that night. A week passed before Blair returned. For me, life went on as usual. The only difference was that I no longer visited Stardust Villa. I used to go 2 or 3 times a week. After the party, I hadn't seen Serena again. Maybe she had decided to let me off the hook. The days were quiet, but a nagging anxiety lingered in the back of my mind. The night Blair came back, Mrs. Monroe erupted at the dinner table. Do you even consider this your home anymore? From this day on, if you spend another night out, you can consider yourself no longer my daughter. Blair seemed genuinely frightened. Mom, I just got back to the country, and I'm still getting used to things at the company. I've been working myself to the bone. I've been sleeping at the office. I only came home today for work. Mr. Monroe chimed in. It's true. He spoke with her assistant. She's been staying at the corporate apartment. Seeing Mrs. Monroe soften, he changed the subject. So, is the work going well? Blair put down her fork and scoffed. Thanks to someone, it's going terribly. Mr. Monroe frowned. What happened? Today, the Sterling Group put out a public tender for a massive new project, Blair began. And our company was the only one that didn't receive an invitation. And we have your wonderful son-in-law to thank for it. My heart skipped a beat. I remembered seeing Serena coming out of the Sterling Enterprises building once. I had teased her, new job, baby. I remembered her reply, I own the building. I had laughed at her for daydreaming. Later, she got in my car, and we went back to Stardust Villa. We had only been together for 2 months then, in the passionate honeymoon phase. It turned out she had been hinting at the truth all along. A wave of regret washed over me for ever getting involved with someone like her. Mrs. Monroe immediately defended me. Logan doesn't even work at the company. What does this have to do with him? Blair's voice rose. Because 3 years ago, he offended the Sterling heiress, and then insulted her with a paltry $1,000 in damages. She recounted the entire story from the party. The dinner table fell silent. A flicker of schadenfreude danced in Blair's eyes. Logan Hayes, you made this mess. You fix it. After a long pause, Grandpa Monroe finally spoke. If we can't get this project, then so be it. Blair was aghast. Grandpa, you told me this project was critical to the survival of the Monroe Corporation, but now that it involves Logan, you're just willing to let it go. Is the fate of our company less important than Logan's pride? Her pent-up resentment finally spilled out. Why are you so biased? Logan is just the fake heir of the Hayes family. I'm your real granddaughter. The Hayes family has disowned him, so why do you still care so much about him? Grandpa's voice was heavy with disappointment. I don't care what his status is. I only know that when he was born, I was the first person to hold him. We watched him grow up. The Hayes family has their issues with him because of old grudges, but we don't care about that. You need to understand, the sins of the previous generation have nothing to do with Logan. He has always been the victim. If you can't show him compassion, must you join outsiders in bullying him? Blair stood up abruptly and left the table, her heart filled with frustration. The Monroes were too good to Logan. Ever since his trouble with the Hayes family, they had protected him at every turn, even forcing her to marry him just to give him a safe place to land. On her way out, she ran into me coming downstairs. I looked at Grandpa Monroe and said, Grandpa, tomorrow I'll take a gift to Sterling Enterprises and apologize to Miss Sterling. I will do my best to secure a bid for our family. Blair let out a cold laugh. Fine. I'll be waiting for the bidding documents tomorrow. Don't disappoint me. She didn't believe for a second I could succeed. She knew firsthand how vengeful the Sterling heiress was. Blair had gone to see her several times in the past few days, only to be refused every time. The last time, Serena had security escort her out, a complete humiliation. It was all Logan's fault. He deserved to know what it felt like to be thrown out in front of everyone. The next morning, I drove to the Sterling Enterprises building. Parking the car, I looked up at the skyscraper, the gilded letters gleaming in the morning sun. Built less than 3 years ago, it had become a city landmark. I always thought it was some new tech startup, never imagining it belonged to the Sterling Group. I walked into the lobby and approached the front desk. Hello, I'd like to know what floor Serena Sterling's office is on. The receptionist's expression soured at my casual use of the CEO's name. The tallest one, with a sharp chin, spoke up. You don't get to use Ms. Sterling's full name. What's your relationship to our CEO? I almost blurted out she's my sugar mama, but caught myself and smiled politely. I'm representing the Monroe Corporation. I'm here to discuss business with Miss Sterling. Her eyes filled with contempt. The Monroes are shameless. Are you their latest strategy? Sending a pretty boy to apologize? Ms. Sterling has given strict orders. No one from the Monroe Corporation is allowed past the front door. She waved for security. Before they could escort me out, I held up a hand. Excuse me, I just need to make one phone call. The guards waited patiently while the 4 receptionists whispered among themselves. The Monroes are so persistent. Their own CEO came 4 times and got rejected. They must be desperate to send this guy. Seeing me hang up, the sharp, kinned receptionist snapped at the guards. What are you waiting for? Get him out of here. Just then, the front desk phone rang. The receptionist glanced at the caller-eyed and froze. It was a call from the CEO's office. In her 3 years at the company, she had never once received a direct call from the top floor. She answered cautiously. A smooth, feminine voice came through the line. Send him up. The receptionist hung up, her face a mask of confusion. Who was that? Her colleague asked. It was Ms. Sterling. Serena was famously private and never gave interviews. Outsiders barely knew what she looked like. But as the company's biggest gossips, the receptionists knew everything about their boss, including the sound of her voice. Their gazes toward me shifted dramatically. Ms. Sterling's office is on the 32nd floor. I thanked them and headed for the elevator. On the 32nd floor, I walked down a hallway and stopped before the CEO's office. Without hesitating, I knocked. The door was opened by a woman in tasteful glasses who introduced herself as Ms. Sterling's assistant, Ms. Palmer. Ms. Sterling is in a meeting, she said with a knowing smile. Mr. Hayes, you can wait in here. Given your relationship with Ms. Sterling, please, make yourself at home. I froze, a blush creeping up my neck. Perhaps I should wait in the reception area. It seemed this assistant knew everything. There was no point in pretending. After she brought me a glass of water, she left the office. I sat on the sofa and looked around. The office was enormous, more like a luxury penthouse, with other rooms branching off the main workspace. My eyes landed on the large desk. A crystal picture frame sat prominently on it. Inside was a photo of a boy, around 4 or 5 years old, grinning gleefully while holding an Ultraman toy. The photo quality was low, like an old snapshot. The boy's face was a little blurry, but his radiant smile was like a ray of sunshine. I didn't know who he was, but the picture felt strangely familiar. As I picked it up for a closer look, the office door opened. A figure stood in the doorway. Serena frowned when she saw me holding the photo, but she didn't enter, as if waiting for something. He smiled, waggling the frame. Your son? I asked casually. Her frown deepened. She strode over, snatched the photo from my hand, and placed it back on the desk. You're the son, she muttered. I chuckled. The great Serena Sterling, stooping to such language. Her retort, however, felt familiar and strangely intimate, like the easy way we used to talk. The hardness in her eyes seemed to soften for a moment. What can I do for you, Mr. Hayes? She asked, her tone shifting back to one of cool, professional distance. In our 3 years together, I had never found her arrogant. My impression had always been one of passion, and even an insatiable greed. But the woman before me now radiated a bone-deep chill. How could someone's entire aura change so drastically in a few days? Which one was the real her? I adopted a business-like tone as well. Can we agree to keep what's between us separate from the Monroe Corporation? They're one of the top 10 construction firms in the country. Surely Sterling Enterprises can at least give them a chance to bid. She sat down in her leather chair and idly picked up a file. Did Blair Monroe send you? I shook my head. I came on my own. I know I offended you, but I believe you're professional enough to separate business from personal matters. A ghost of a smile touched her cold face. Oh, Mr. Hayes, don't flatter me. Mixing business with pleasure is my specialty. A flicker of helplessness crossed my face. What will it take to give the Monroe Corporation a chance? She patted the space beside her on the chair. Come here. I walked over and sat down. She turned and gracefully swung her legs over mine, straddling my lap. My gaze darkened. Countless nights had begun just like this. She let out a low chuckle, then leaned in and kissed me. For once I was compliant. I was usually the one being serviced, but today, I felt like I was the one trying to curry favor. Serena was clearly getting lost in the moment. Seeing the haze of passion in her eyes, I broke the kiss and whispered in her ear, my voice laced with seduction, send the Monroe Corporation the bidding documents. Please. The fog in her deep eyes began to clear. She grabbed my chin, forcing me to meet her gaze. Her beautiful eyes were now perfectly lucid. The pretty boy act doesn't work on me. I shot her a look. You could have told me that sooner. I wouldn't have wasted such a good performance. Serena looked like she wanted to strangle me. This man was truly heartless. The second he realized he couldn't use me, he dropped the act without a moment's hesitation. She had almost lost control, and it had all been a lie. So there's really no other way. I asked again. She stared at me, a hint of desperation in her eyes. She knew if she said no right now, I would turn around and walk out without a second glance. That was all the patience I had for her. Finally she spoke. I'll agree. On one condition. What condition? Move out of the Monroe house and into Stardust Villa. The villa I had gifted her just before we broke up. Done, I agreed instantly. Then send the bidding documents to the Monroe Corporation now. My quick agreement made her suspicious, but she had no way to verify my intentions. Still, a deal was a deal. She sent the invitation. Meanwhile, Blair Monroe was in a tense meeting. Half of their current projects were losing money. If they didn't land this resort project, the corporation could be in real trouble. But thousands of companies were vying for this prize. They couldn't even get an invitation to bid. They had been brainstorming ways to change Serena's mind, even researching her hobbies, but what do you get for the woman who is everything? Just as Blair's frustration peaked, her assistant burst in, laptop in hand. Ms. Monroe. Blair scowled. What is it? Can't you see I'm in a meeting? Sterling Enterprises, the assistant gasped. They just sent us the bidding documents. Blair froze, then leaped to her feet. Really? Let me see. She checked the email. It was real. A wave of relief washed over her, quickly followed by suspicion. Why the sudden change of heart? Maybe Miss Sterling was moved by your sincerity. The assistant gushed. Blair fell silent. She had gone 4 times with no success. Today, Logan goes once, and the invitation suddenly appears. Could it really be a coincidence? Back in the office, seeing the documents had been sent, I stood up to leave. As I walked away, Serena felt a strange pang. I'll be waiting for you at Stardust Villa tonight, she called after my retreating back. I paid her no mind and walked out. Watching my hurried exit, Serena felt a growing sense that something was wrong. At 9 that night, I had just stepped out of the shower at the Monroe house when Serena called. Her voice was tight with fury, terrifyingly cold. Logan Hayes, did you just stand me up? I chuckled softly. Whatever do you mean? You promised me. She roared through the phone. He promised you would move out of the Monroe house and into Stardust Villa. She could practically picture me on the other end, holding the phone with a lazy, satisfied smirk. I promised I'd move out of the Monroe house and into Stardust Villa, I said calmly. I just never said when I'd move. I was thinking maybe in 5 years. By then, the resort project will be finished, and I imagine Ms. Sterling will no longer be in Chicago. The woman on the other end of the line was so angry she laughed. 5 years. Why not just say 50? My smile was audible. Anything else, Miss Sterling? If not, I'm hanging up. With that, I said, good night, and hung up the phone. At Stardust Villa, Serena Sterling stood on the 3rd floor balcony and, in a fit of rage, hurled her phone to the ground below. Logan Hayes, you've got some nerve. How did I never realize what a shameless rogue you could be? Meanwhile, I was lounging in bed, humming a tune. My mission was complete. The resort project was a federally act development, which meant it required a public bidding process. As long as the Monroe Corporation received the invitation, everything would proceed through official channels under government oversight. Sterling Enterprises couldn't just kick them out of the running. If the Monroes didn't win the bid, it would be due to their own shortcomings, and that had nothing to do with me. I slept soundly. The next morning, I headed to the television station. Although I was the anchor for the new news, our station integrated reporting and editing. I was a journalist as much as an anchor, often gathering my own stories. As soon as I walked in, I overheard my colleagues gossiping. I heard the new guy graduated from a prestigious international arts academy, and even interned at NESE. With a resume like that, he could be an anchor for a national network. Why would he come to our little station in Chicago? Hearing this, I felt my position as the station's golden boy start to wobble. The gossip continued. The director must have had his reasons for hiring someone so qualified. It's about time, anyway. What does Logan Hayes have besides a pretty face? He attracts a ton of advertisers, which is the only reason he gets the most airtime. In the year he's been here, who among us isn't more skilled professionally? I listened as I walked to my desk. The gossiping group suddenly noticed my presence. Hey, Logan, when did you get in? He smiled faintly. Right around the time you were complimenting my good looks. Their smiles were strained, but inwardly they were seething. He was always so magnanimous, which just made everyone else look petty. Just then, the news director, Mr. Matthews, walked in. Everyone seems to be having a relaxed morning. We have a new colleague joining us today. Matthews smiled at the young man beside him. Carter, why don't you introduce yourself? Hello everyone, my name is Carter Vance. Every eye in the room turned to him. He was dressed in a standard suit, his features pleasant enough, with a gentle, non-threatening smile. My own gaze landed on him, but it was cold. I'm new here, so I hope I can learn a lot from all of you. Carter even gave a slight bow. With his impressive resume and humble demeanor, he immediately won over several people. He went around greeting everyone, finally stopping in front of me. Logan, we're colleagues now. There's a lot I don't know, so I hope you'll look out for me. Surprised murmurs went through the room. The morning news anchor, Lily Evans, spoke up. Do you two know each other? Carter smiled and nodded. Logan and I were high school classmates. We were best friends. I chuckled. High school classmates, yes. Best friends, I wouldn't dare claim that title. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Carter's face, and he lowered his head. You're right. I'm not worthy of being your friend. I come from a poor background, it's my own insecurity. The room went quiet. Carter's humble act was so convincing that even a bystander would feel sympathy for him. Predictably, Lily stepped forward. Logan Hayes, what's your problem? Carter is a brilliant talent who's returned from abroad. He's just being gracious by calling you a friend. You're so ungrateful. She then took Carter's arm. Don't mind him, he's famously disliked around here. We'll be your friends from now on. Director Matthews looked uncomfortable. Carter, just get settled in. Oh, and news meeting at 9. Watching Carter being led away by a throng of new admirers, I felt a brief pain, but it quickly passed. Carter was a master of disguise, otherwise, he wouldn't have fooled me so completely in high school. My 3 years as a news anchor were to fulfill a childhood dream, not because I couldn't survive without this job. I had many skills, any one of which could support me comfortably for the rest of my life. I didn't know what Carter's goal was, but I was tired of competing with him. Maybe leaving wasn't such a bad idea. At 9, we all gathered in the conference room. Director Matthews began. Our veteran anchor, Mr. Pham, will be retiring in 1 week. Therefore, we need to decide on his replacement for the primetime slot within the week. Lily immediately spoke up. Director, I think Carter Vance is a perfect fit. I just watched his reel from mid-A. He transitions seamlessly between English and Chinese, and his on-air presence is incredibly professional. Matthews smiled. Carter is outstanding, but the position was originally intended for Logan. After all, he brings in the most advertising contracts, and has the highest ratings. Lily glanced at me. This is the news division, not the ad department. We should be looking at professional ability. If we start judging based on who brings in the most ad revenue, people will stop focusing on journalism and start looking for sugar daddies. She emphasized the words sugar daddies, her mien clear. I appeared unfazed. The other day at the Sterling Group's business gala, I overheard some of their employees talking about a certain anchor from our station who was constantly chasing after their CEO. The CEO's wife apparently caught her sitting on his lap, calling him daddy, and slapped her right across the face. I was just curious, do we really have someone like that at our station? Lily shot to her feet, enraged. Logan Hayes, don't you dare slander people, I smirked. I never said it was you. There are plenty of women at this station. I just thought you made a good point. We should focus on the news. Chasing after sponsors is a risky business. Coincidentally, I connected with Mrs. Sterling at that gala. She was just asking me about that particular anchor yesterday. Lily's anger morphed into terror. What did you tell her? Her reaction was a dead giveaway. The way her colleagues looked at her changed, but she was too panicked to notice. She knew Mrs. Sterling's reputation. He smiled at her. Just as fear was about to consume her, I spoke slowly. It concerns the reputation of our station. I haven't said anything without a full investigation. In fact, I'd forgotten all about it until you brought up the topic of sponsors. Lily let out a breath of relief. She now looked at me with wary apprehension, and sank back into her seat, not daring to say another word. Carter spoke up with a gentle smile. Everyone in our newsroom is a graduate of a prestigious university. I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. As for the primetime anchor position, I won't compete with Logan for it. Just let him have it. His tone was mild, but his words were loaded. He made it sound as if the position was his for the taking and he was graciously giving it to me. I laughed coldly. What exactly do you mean by that? All right, that's enough, Director Matthews finally interjected, a headache forming. Regarding the anchor position, here's the plan. We're trying to land an interview with a very important figure. Whoever can secure the first exclusive interview with this person will get the primetime slot. The interview must be completed within 1 week. You two need to move fast. Someone asked, Director, who is this important person? The heiress of the Sterling family, Serena Sterling. A collective gasp went through the room. Isn't she supposed to be in New York? Besides, even the national networks haven't been able to interview her. Why would she agree to an interview with a small local station like ours? The head of photography, Xiao Yuan, chimed in. You call yourselves journalists, and you don't know this. Miss Sterling has been lying low in Chicago for the past 3 years. The mysterious Sterling Enterprises is actually a subsidiary of her family's company. She's in charge of the new federally backed resort project being developed here. Bathus nodded. Exactly. You all know who Serena Sterling is. The Sterlings are the wealthiest family in the country, and she's their prized daughter. She has never granted an interview to any media outlet. This resort project is about to be announced to the world. It's a long shot, but I think it's worth a try. If we succeed, our Chicago station will have accomplished something the national networks couldn't. His eyes gleamed. I have faith in both of you. Whoever succeeds will undoubtedly earn the primetime spot. If neither of you do, I'll use a different evaluation system. Leaving the meeting, my expression was unusually grave. Carter walked over to my desk. Logan, you were at the Sterling's party, weren't you? How come no one at the station knows you're also a Hayes? I glanced at him. Carter, why did you come to this station? Wasn't stealing Blair enough for you? Now you want to steal my job too? Carter's face was a mask of innocence. You've misunderstood me. I just felt my skills were a good fit here. I never wanted to take anything from you. And I didn't steal Blair. I've always wondered, I pressed on. What happened at that summer camp you and Blair attended? Before that, I could feel that she loved me. But when she came back, she was a completely different person. The love was gone, replaced by hatred. A subtle shift in Carter's expression told me he remembered. I waved a dismissive hand. Never mind. I'm not interested in your sordid affairs. It's not what you think. He started to explain. But I had lost my patience. He stood up. Carter, don't mess with me, or you might see the person I was 3 years ago. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go anchor the noon news. Carter watched me go, his expression hardening into a cold mass. Logan Hayes, he muttered to himself, I will take everything from you. Your wife, your job, and your family. I will take it all. You'll be a pariah, your reputation in tatters. I'm looking forward to that day. Then you'll understand why I'm doing all this. That evening, Carter returned to his suite at the Grand Capitol Hotel. Blair was already there. I thought you said you were going back to your family's house tonight. He said, pleasantly surprised. She wrapped her arms around his neck. I missed you. He pulled her into an embrace. She looked up at him. It's not fair to you, having to sneak around like this. He shook his head. As long as your heart is with me, I don't feel wronged at all. Don't worry, she said. Logan and I will be settled soon. At the mention of my name, her face turned cold. It's your first day at the station. Did he give you a hard time? A flicker of something crossed Carter's eyes. You know how it is. He blames me for taking you away from him. He's always been like that with me. Blair's brow furrowed. So he did bully you. I'm going to go have it out with him right now. Carter quickly grabbed her hand. Don't. If it means I can be with you, a little trouble is nothing. Going back will only complicate things and make your parents hate me more. I can endure it. Thinking of her parents' prejudice against Carter, Blair hesitated. If you're being treated unfairly, you have to tell me. I won't let Logan walk all over you forever. Besides, I was never his to begin with. You didn't steal me from him. He was never worthy. A glint appeared in Carter's eyes before he smiled gently. Blair, have you met Serena Sterling? Do you know anything about her? For the resort project, the company did some research on her, but she's extremely private. We don't know much, Blair replied. Why do you ask? Carter sighed. The station said if I can land an exclusive interview with her, the 7 o'clock primetime anchor spot is mine. But when I called Sterling Enterprises today, they said the waitlist for media appointments is 6 months long. Blair thought for a moment. The only thing we found out is that she has a habit of playing golf at the Royal Greens Country Club. Carter's face fell. But that's the most exclusive club in Chicago. The membership fee is in the tens of millions. How could I ever get in? My grandfather is a member, Blair said. He used to go with him all the time. I'll call the club tomorrow. You just have to go as the Monroe family's son-in-law. Carter's eyes lit up. Really? I can go as Logan Hayes. Blair smiled at him. Of course. In my heart, you are the true son-in-law of the Monroe family. While Carter was in the shower, Blair called me. Logan Hayes, if you ever dare to bully Carter again, don't blame me for being ruthless. I found it amusing. What, did Carter go crying to you? Carter isn't two-faced like you are, she snapped. You have everything. Stop trying to compete with him over every little thing. After she hung up, I felt a surge of frustration. Carter had stolen what was mine, and somehow, I was the bad guy. I looked at the resignation letter I had just typed on my computer and slammed the laptop shut. Why should I quit just because he showed up? First Blair, now my job. I'd been toying with the idea of leaving for a while, but now, I was determined to stay. If I was going to resign, it would be after I had secured the primetime anchor spot. I picked up my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and found the entry labeled Canary. Without hesitation, I dialed the number. She picked up quickly. What can I do for you, Mr. Hayes? Her voice was icy. She was clearly still angry about being stood up. Perhaps she had finally decided to cut ties with me, which was exactly what I wanted. I adopted a rare, serious tone. Miss Sterling, I'm a reporter for YC Chicago. I'd like to request a personal interview. I was wondering if you might have some time. There was a pause on the other end. She knew this was coming. I never called unless I wanted something. Logan Hayes, you have a lot of nerve, she said after a few seconds. You stand me up one night and then ask me for an interview the next. I waited a moment before replying calmly, those are two separate matters. Perhaps Miss Sterling isn't aware, but I've always been one to keep my personal and professional lives separate. I think I made her laugh. Fine, you want an interview? Come to Stardust Villa right now and apologize. We can discuss the rest later. I glanced at the clock. 10:00. I knew exactly what would happen if I went over there. I had never gone to that place willingly. I refused flatly. This is a professional matter, Miss Sterling. Let's schedule another time. You name the day, and I will be there to offer my sincerest apologies. Knowing my stubbornness, she didn't push it. Fine. Minute. Tomorrow. The Royal Greens Country Club. I'd never been there, but I knew my grandfather was a member. The club had a convenient policy for family members. You just had to give the member's name to get a guest pass. The next day, I arrived at the club at 9 on the dot. I went to the registration desk. A beautiful young woman greeted me. Sir, you don't look like a member. My grandfather is Harrison Monroe. Can I go in? She looked surprised. You're also a son-in-law of the Monroe family. She pointed to a figure not far away. That man also claimed to be the Monroe family's son-in-law. Mr. Monroe is a huge figure in Chicago. He only has one son and one daughter. How can he have two sons-in-law? I followed her gaze and saw Carter Vance. Carter saw me at the same time, a flicker of surprise on his face. The receptionist looked flustered. Please wait a moment. I'll get the manager. The manager arrived quickly, scolding the receptionist. Miss Monroe already called ahead. Just let him in, what's the delay? My apologies for the trouble, Mr. Hayes. She said a Mr. Hayes was coming, the receptionist said defensively. She didn't say two of them were coming. The manager was also taken aback. How can there be two Mr. Hayeses? Just then, Carter walked over. Logan, what are you doing here? He smiled at him. If I didn't come, how would I know someone was using my identity to swindle his way around town? The manager approached us. Gentlemen, which one of you is the real Mr. Hayes? By now, a crowd had gathered. The club was full of the city's elite, who love a good bit of drama. Well, what have we here? The real and fake Mr. Hayes. Someone joked. Serena Sterling was also approaching, surrounded by a group of friends. Her skin was paler than most, giving her an air of untouchable nobility. Our eyes met. To be honest, I had rarely seen her fully dressed in our 3 years together, which is why her appearance at the party had been such a shock, not because of her status, but because her entire aura had changed, making her a complete stranger. One of Serena's friends spoke up. Chicago really is a charming place. No wonder our dear Miss Sterling couldn't bear to leave 3 years ago. The manager, at a loss, looked at the two of us. Carter, seeing the crowd, didn't dare speak. He was about to become a primetime anchor. He couldn't afford a scandal. He knew my personality. In school, I never fought with him, always giving in. He hoped I would back down this time, too. But I just smiled at him, saying nothing, holding my ground. Just then, one of Serena's friends said, Miss Sterling, I remember at your grandfather's 70th birthday party, it was Miss Monroe and Mr. Hayes who attended, right? You should know who the real Mr. Hayes is. Instantly all eyes turned to Serena, including mine and Carter's. Carter's heart pounded. This was Serena Sterling, the business magnate he was supposed to interview. A wave of anxiety washed over him. I looked at Serena, thinking, we were together for 3 years. A little help now wouldn't be too much to ask, right? The manager had already made his way to Serena's side, clearly waiting for her verdict. She glanced at me, then said softly, I'm not familiar with any Miss Monroe. If you want to know who the real Mr. Hayes is, you should video call Miss Monroe and have her identify him herself. Surely she can recognize her own husband. Yes, of course, how silly of me. Thank you for the suggestion, Miss Sterling. My heart sank. I shot Serena a look. She was doing this on purpose. Soon, the video call connected. Blair's voice came through. Manager Zhao, is there a problem? Apologies for bothering you, Miss Monroe. You said Mr. Hayes would be coming today, but 2 gentlemen have arrived claiming to be him. Could you please take a look and tell us which one is your husband? The manager panned the camera across me and Carter. Blair's brow furrowed, but she answered almost instantly. The one in the gray suit is my husband. Carter was wearing a gray suit. I was wearing black. The manager beamed. Excellent, excellent. We won't disturb you any further. I'll take it from here, and make sure Mr. Hayes is well taken care of. After he hung up, whispers filled the lobby. If you can't afford it, don't try to fake it. Getting caught impersonating someone's son-in-law in public. How embarrassing. Ignore the murmurs. Manager Zhao approached me, his tone no longer polite. Sir, you are not a member here. Please leave immediately. He showed no sign of embarrassment. I lazily pulled a card from my pocket. Well then, can I become a member now? Will that get me in? The crowd fell silent. The manager was stunned. You can, but the membership fee is $10 million. I know. Run the card. The onlookers were speechless. The same people who had been mocking me were now staring. Most of them were using their father's or grandfather's memberships. The manager's expression did a complete 180, his smile even brighter than before. He didn't even bother with Carter, simply assigning a receptionist to show him in while he personally escorted me to the VIP lounge to process my membership. Only the young women with Serena looked intrigued. Is that a Centurion black card? There are only 50 of them in the world. They're accepted by all major banks, offer free VIP services at every 7-star hotel, and are the ultimate status symbol. I think Miss Sterling has one too. There are less than 15 cardholders in all of China. Who exactly is this Mr. Hayes? The people who had been jeering at me were now wide-eyed. $10 million was one thing, but a black card was on another level entirely. It wasn't something ordinary rich people could get. The issuing agency's vetting process was notoriously strict. Of course, I knew none of this. It was the salary card my sister had set up for me. My annual dividends went into it. I had no idea how much money was in there. 10 million was nothing to me. When Serena saw the card, she seemed to be deep in thought. Neither the Hayes family of the past nor the Monroe family of today could have possibly obtained such a card. Out on the vast course, Serena's friends were eagerly grabbing their clubs, but she sat down in the rest pavilion. A server brought her delicate sandwiches and pastries. She had a habit of eating breakfast here. She ate with an elegant, almost lazy grace, an air of effortless confidence that was surprisingly similar to my own. Carter approached. Miss Sterling, may I sit here? She looked up, her voice cool. This is a public rest area, Mr. Vance. Please, help yourself. Her tone was polite but distant. He sat down immediately. Miss Sterling, I actually came here today to find you. And what can I do for you, Mr. Vance? She asked, still indifferent. Hello, Miss Sterling. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Carter Vance, a reporter for WC Chicago. Regarding the Paradise Resort project, our station would like to arrange an exclusive interview with you. Without looking up, she asked coldly, and why should I be interested? Miss Sterling, with the Paradise Resort project about to launch, you'll need media exposure to attract investors. You need an opportunity to prove yourself to Chairman Sterling. You've been working quietly here for 3 years. This project is clearly very important to you. She nodded coolly, glancing at him. You seem to know quite a bit about my family's affairs. Her gaze made him nervous. The woman's presence was overpowering. But he pushed on. WC Chicago is the most reputable traditional media outlet in the city. We are willing to partner with you. Anytime you need media support in the future, we can cooperate. This is a win-win situation. Serena remained silent, seemingly considering it. Just then, a commotion erupted nearby. Carter looked over and saw me, surrounded by a group of young socialites, swinging a golf club. My form was perfect, my tall frame moving with a beautiful, fluid motion that captivated the women around me. A flash of jealousy crossed Carter's eyes. When he turned back to Serena, she was already on her feet, striding towards me. As she approached, she heard one of her friends, Chloe, gushing, incredible, Mr. Hayes, are you a professional? You should be my coach. I laughed. You're too kind. It's just a hobby. Just as Chloe was about to lean against my arm, Serena cut in. What are you all doing? Chloe leaned on her club. We found our match. His technique is leagues above ours. I'm afraid only you are skilled enough to challenge him. The others chimed in. Yes, Miss Sterling, you should play around with Mr. Hayes. This was exactly what I was waiting for. He smiled at Serena. Miss Sterling, care for a match? Before she could answer, I added, don't tell me you're scared. Chloe interjected. Mr. Hayes, you don't know our Serena. In the circles back in New York, if her skill is number 2, no one dares claim to be number 1. He smirked. New York social circles don't carry much weight in Chicago. The implication was clear, she was only number 1 because no one dared to beat her. The onlookers exchanged glances, marveling at my audacity. Serena spoke, her voice flat. What are the terms? I pointed to the green ahead. Let's play this par 4. Mr. Hayes just birdied it in 3 strokes, someone commented. Serena, unfazed, motioned for a caddy to bring her clubs. Since it's a competition, there should be a prize, don't you think? I continued. She grunted. What do you want? If I win, I said without hesitation, you give me your first ever exclusive interview. How about it? The crowd buzzed with excitement. Even Carter had wandered over. Serena scoffed. Beat me first. Once she was ready, I walked over to her. Miss Sterling, your shot. She swung, her form flawless. A cheer went up from the crowd. She had landed the ball on the green in 1 shot. She then switched to a putter and sank the ball with precision. Amazing, someone shouted. An eagle, a par 4 in 2 strokes. All eyes turned to me with sympathy. Mr. Hayes, maybe you should just concede. Miss Sterling was trained by the national golf champion. There's no shame in losing to her. He smiled. I haven't played yet. How do you know I'll lose? I took my club and stepped up to the tee. Everyone assumed I was just trying to save face. 2 strokes on a par 4 was peak performance. A hole-in-one was rarer than winning the lottery. I took my stance, swung, and the ball sailed through the air in a perfect arc, heading straight for the green. Everyone rushed over. Chloe was the first to arrive, but she couldn't find the ball on the grass. She searched frantically before someone remembered to check the hole. And there it was. Chloe stood stunned for a moment, then triumphantly held up the ball. A hole-in-one. Mr. Hayes got a hole-in-one. She seemed more excited than if she'd done it herself. The crowd was speechless. He actually did it. The news spread like wildfire. More and more people came over to see, some even asking for photos with me. By tradition, anyone who gets a hole in one is expected to give out red envelopes to the caddies and staff. As if I had planned it, I pulled a stack of red envelopes from my sports bag and had a caddy distribute them. Mr. Hayes came prepared, someone whispered. He must have been sandbagging with that 3-stroke birdie earlier. He smiled at the comments and turned to Serena. Miss Sterling, a promise is a promise, right? She said coldly. I said, beat me first. I never promised to give you an interview if you won. My face fell. She was back to being the same shameless little pixie I knew. I was reminded of how, after an exhausting session in bed, she would promise it was the last time, only to start something new in the shower, claiming she'd never said any such thing. The memory made my face flush. The crowd started to murmur. Miss Sterling, that's not very sporting. That's right, a bet's a bet. It's just an interview. A wave of anger rose in Serena. I despise being manipulated, she said, her eyes flashing a warning at her friends. If any of you speak to him again, don't consider yourself my friend. Her friends looked at her in shock. Serena was a business titan, but she was always good to her friends. For her to say something like this over a man. They knew she was genuinely furious. The people around me quickly backed away. Seeing this, Carter allowed himself a small, triumphant smile. Back at the station, neither of us mentioned what happened at the golf course. At the afternoon meeting, Director Matthews was ecstatic. Our time has finally come. Carter, Logan, which one of you did it? Who landed the exclusive interview with Miss Sterling? We both stared at him, confused. Miss Sterling has agreed to an interview, the director announced. Sterling Enterprises just called. They said to send someone over at 9 tomorrow. So who's doing the interview? Lily asked. They didn't specify. Just that we should have someone there at 9 for a 2-hour slot. So, who is it? A frown. Serena had clearly refused. Why the change of heart? While I was silent, Carter spoke up confidently. It was me, Director Matthews. The director beamed. Excellent, Carter, I knew you had it in you. Get prepared. This is a huge opportunity. He pulled out his phone. I have to report this to the station manager. The national networks have been trying to get her for years. He's going to be thrilled. After he left, everyone crowded around Carter. Carter, you're amazing. How did you do it? See, that's the difference between a top-tier graduate and some people. When you get the primetime spot, you have to treat us to dinner. Carter smiled mostly. It was just luck. I'll treat everyone tonight. Dinner at Nobu. Nobu was the most exclusive Japanese restaurant in Chicago. No one at the station could afford it. They cheered, praising his generosity. Carter walked over to me. Logan, you'll join us tonight, right? I gathered my things and smiled at him. Of course. I never turned down a free meal. That evening, our group arrived at Nobu. Carter had booked a private room. Carter, do you eat here often? Someone asked. Not really, just occasionally, he replied humbly. This place isn't for ordinary people. You've been telling us you grew up poor, but you studied abroad. You must come from a wealthy family, right? I wasn't lying, he said. My family really isn't well off. I was only able to go abroad because of my girlfriend. He looked across the table at me. Her family is quite wealthy, and she loves me very much. We studied abroad together. When are you going to introduce her to us? Lily asked. Soon, when I have the chance, Carter replied, his eyes still fixed on me. I remained impassive, a flicker of disappointment crossing his face. The waiter brought the menus. Carter handed one directly to me. Logan, order whatever you want. Don't be shy. I took it and started ordering, rattling off a long list of items in just a few minutes. I handed the menu back to him. Do you want to take a look? His taste is impeccable, Carter told the waiter. The food started arriving. At first, everyone was having a great time. But after 2 hours, Carter noticed something was wrong. The dishes, and various expensive bottles of wine, just kept coming. But everyone was too busy enjoying themselves and praising his generosity for him to say anything. When the meal was finally over, the waiter brought the bill. Carter looked at it and froze. $98,000. How can it be this expensive? He asked the waiter, his voice trembling. The waiter patiently explained, Sir, you ordered every item on our menu, including several rare, off-menu specialties. The food alone was $18,000. You also ordered 4 bottles of wine at $20,000 each. And there is a standard 5 service charge. Carter felt faint. He didn't have that kind of money. He thought I'd order, at most, a few $1,000s worth. The others were stunned, and they turned on me. Logan, was this some kind of revenge? He told you to order, so you rack up a $98,000 bill. Have you no shame? He smiled. You didn't seem to have a problem when you were eating the black truffle hot pot, and the Kobe beef. And I'd only ordered 1 bottle of wine. The rest of you ordered the other 3. Are you still going to argue? Someone snapped. If you feel so bad for him, I said calmly, we can all just split the bill. No one ate any less than anyone else. It's only fair. At the mention of splitting the bill, everyone fell silent. It would be nearly $10,000 per person, several months' salary for most of them. Carter doesn't care about the money, one of the women said weakly. Carter was trapped. He and Blair didn't have much money. After she went abroad, the Monroes had cut her off financially. His own bank account held just over $10,000, money he had earned touring. He had no choice but to call Blair. When she heard he had spent nearly $100,000 on one meal, she was furious. Carter, what did you eat? Dragon meat. A $98,000 dinner. His voice was hoarse. I landed the exclusive interview with Serena Sterling, so I treated my colleagues. Logan ordered. I had no idea he ordered so much, or such expensive wine. At the mention of my name, Blair frowned. Her voice softened considerably as she spoke to Carter. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So it was him causing trouble. She was quiet for a moment, then said, I'm nearby. I'll be right over. 10 minutes later, Blair arrived at Nobu. She settled the bill first, then came to the private room. Carter rushed to her side. Blair, you're finally here. In front of everyone, Blair gently took Carter's arm. Don't worry, I've taken care of the bill. A collective sigh of relief went through the room. Lily was the first to sing Carter's praises. You're so lucky. Your girlfriend is beautiful and rich. Carter smiled and introduced her. Everyone, this is my girlfriend, Blair Monroe. Lily looked surprised. I've heard the heiress of the Monroe family is named Blair Monroe. Just a coincidence, Blair said coolly. Her gaze then fell on me. Logan Hayes, come with me. Everyone was stunned. He stood up and walked over to her. A good dog doesn't block the way. Curious, Blair grabbed my arm and dragged me out of the room. She pulled me into an empty private room down the hall and locked the door behind us, leaving everyone else staring in bewilderment. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Carter's face. Carter, does your girlfriend know Logan Hayes? The three of us were high school classmates, Carter explained. Besides, back in high school, Logan. He trailed off intentionally. Lily scoffed. Now I see why Logan hates you so much. He must have had a crush on your girlfriend in high school, and he's jealous because he couldn't have her. Carter feigned a defense for me. It's not like that. It's all in the past. Meanwhile, in the other room, Blair confronted me, her voice cold. Logan, I've told you a million times, stop bullying Carter. Do my words mean nothing to you? I found a sofa and sat down. He's the one who wanted to treat everyone. No one forced him. So you deliberately ordered the most expensive things on the menu. You know his family's financial situation. You're just using your wealth to humiliate him. How are you any different from those petty, money-grubbing bullies? I looked up, a flash of anger in my eyes. You're right. I know his family's situation, and I know you two don't have much money right now. I was deliberately bullying him. And as for why, I was just giving him a taste of his own medicine. 3 years ago, you two knew my situation, yet you still betrayed me when I was at my lowest. Compared to what you did, my little prank is nothing. Blair's expression was complicated. What happened back then was your own fault. You were the one who betrayed me first. She stared at me with hatred. The summer after our freshman year of college. What happened? Do you dare tell me? My face went pale. Blair, how did you know? Seeing my reaction, she looked surprised. It was infuriating how, even in a state of panic, my face was still ridiculously handsome. Who was that woman? He stood up, my eyes turning cold. Shut up. Why did you marry me? She shot back, humiliated and angry. Wasn't it because you couldn't go back to the Hayes family? If you were still the great Hayes heir, would you have married me? Would you have agreed to be the Monroe family's live-in son-in-law? You act like you're so in love with me now, but it's only because you're afraid of losing your last lifeline. Without me, you'd lose the comfortable life you have now. You're a fake, a fraud, not even worth a single hair on Carter's head. That's enough, Blair. My fingers were trembling. I had a secret, one I had never told anyone. I had always convinced myself it was just a nightmare, that I had successfully erased it from my memory. I never thought anyone else in the world knew. But Blair had known all along. I walked to the door and opened it. Carter was standing there. I gave him a long, hard look, then left without a word. Blair came out of the room. Blair, what did you say to him? Carter asked, concerned. He looked really upset. Nothing. Just about that. Carter's face changed. You promised me you wouldn't bring that up with him. I didn't want to. But he was being so arrogant. It's good to knock him down a peg. You're too nice, Carter. Why are you still worried about him? Carter frowned, a look of unease in his eyes. Logan will definitely suspect. I drove away, aimlessly navigating the overpasses. Somehow, I ended up at Stardust Villa. The bedroom light was on. I pulled into the driveway and parked. Serena heard the car and came to the top of the stairs just as I was starting to climb. She was wearing a pink silk robe. Well, look who it is, she said sarcastically. I thought you'd never come to me willingly again. I said nothing, just kept climbing. As I got closer, her heart began to race. She realized something was wrong. My eyes were burning with a cold, hateful fire. She frowned. All I did was embarrass you a little. Is that any reason to look like you want to kill someone? In the next second, I was on the top step. I pulled her into my arms, my hand cupping the back of her head, and kissed her, hard and rough. She was stunned for a moment. In 3 years, I had never kissed her like this. But she quickly recovered and responded with equal ferocity. Her slippers went flying down the stairs as we stumbled into the bedroom. Serena woke up in the middle of the night and reached for me, but the other side of the bed was empty. She sat up and heard a car engine start in the driveway. She went to the balcony and saw me driving away. A flash of anger crossed her face. It's always the same. He uses me and then leaves, without a single thought for how I feel. But then she remembered my fierce, almost desperate behavior earlier. He was clearly taking his anger out on something, and it was more than just the interview. Was it because of Blair? At the thought, her expression turned to ice. The next morning at the station, everyone was buzzing about Carter. The news that he was interviewing Serena Sterling, and that he had spent nearly $100,000 on a celebratory dinner, was the talk of the office. People from other departments even came over to congratulate him. Carter was fully prepared for the interview. The crew was massive. A typical interview required a reporter and a camera person, but this one had a team of over a dozen, including 2 personal assistants for Carter. The station had even created a special segment for the interview, with Serena as the first guest. Although the appointment was for 9, Carter and his team left at 8. The station manager even made a rare appearance to see them off. He clapped Carter on the shoulder. "You've brought a real treasure to our station," he told Director Matthews. "I promise to do my best," Carter said humbly. I sat at my desk, reading a script. Lily was talking loudly to a colleague nearby. "Carter is amazing. He's only been here 2 days, and he's already landed an interview with Serena Sterling. Someone's going to have to give up his interview god title." The station manager came personally. "Carter's a shoo-in for the primetime spot." I remained silent. At 8:20, Carter's team arrived at the Sterling Enterprises building. Ms. Palmer, Serena's assistant, was there to greet them. "You must be from the television station. Ms. Sterling sent me to meet you." Carter's 2 young assistants were ecstatic. The CEO's personal assistant came to meet us. "Carter, you have so much clout. Are you and Miss Sterling friends?" This is not the typical treatment for a regular interview. Carter just smiled his usual humble smile, though the corners of his mouth twitched upwards. Ms. Palmer showed them to a conference room. "Ms. Sterling is in a meeting. She'll be here shortly. You can set up in the meantime." 10 minutes later, the conference room doors opened. Carter stood up and walked over to Serena, extending his hand. "Ms. Sterling, I'm Carter Vance, your interviewer for today. It's an honor to be conducting your first public interview." Serena ignored his outstretched hand, a slight frown on her face. Carter had a bad feeling. He quickly retracted his hand, and tried to get straight to the point. "Ms. Sterling, we're all set up. Shall we begin?" "One moment," she said, her voice cold. The interviewer I was expecting was not a Mr. Vance. Carter's heart sank, but he tried to remain calm. "As I explained yesterday, we see Chicago is prepared to offer a mutually beneficial partnership to Sterling Enterprises. Anything you need in the future, we will be at your service." He hoped his offer would sway her, but she was unmoved. "I lost a bet to Mr. Hayes yesterday. This interview is his prize. Mr. Vance was there. He knows this better than anyone." Her voice was laced with ice. Serena Sterling, always honor my bets. I lost to Mr. Hayes, so he is the only one who can conduct this interview. If he is not here, then the interview is cancelled." With that, she turned and left. The room erupted in whispers. "So it wasn't Carter who got the interview," she said. "Mr. Hayes. You don't think she means Logan Hayes? It seems she lost a bet to him. That's why she agreed to the interview. Logan really is the interview god. There's no one he can't land. But why did Carter say he arranged it? How embarrassing to be exposed like that." Carter felt the room spin, but he gritted his teeth and turned to the crew. "It seems there's been a misunderstanding. Let's get the correct interviewer over here." An assistant frantically called Director Matthews and relayed the entire story. The director was stunned and immediately came to find me. "Logan, you got the interview. Why didn't you say anything? We almost had a huge misunderstanding." He smiled. "It doesn't matter who does the interview, Director. Of course it matters. This is your achievement. And now Ms. Sterling is insisting on you. You have to go." "I don't think so," I said, still smiling. "Since Carter is already there, I won't go. I'm sure he's capable. We all work for the same station. I'm not going to be petty about it." "Then I'll have Carter come back and apologize to you," the director said, testing the waters. When I didn't respond, he knew something was up. He called Carter and told him to come back to the station immediately and invite me to the interview. Carter knew what that meant, but he had no choice. When Carter returned, Director Matthews berated him. "What were you thinking? Miss Sterling clearly agreed to an interview with Logan. Why did you say you arranged it?" "I'm sorry," Carter said, looking so pitiful it was hard to stay mad at him. "I spoke with Ms. Sterling yesterday, and she didn't refuse, so I thought she had tacitly agreed. It was a misunderstanding. Go apologize to Logan," the director said. Carter walked over to my desk. "I'm sorry, Logan. It was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean to take your interview. Please go. Everyone is waiting for you." I looked up at him, a half-smile on my face. "Carter, can everything be solved with a misunderstanding? When you and Blair were all over each other at that summer camp, you said it was a misunderstanding. And now, this is a misunderstanding." Carter lowered his head, looking wrong. "What do you want me to do?" "I'll do whatever you say." That same pitiful expression had once fooled me. I had treated him like a brother, fought for him, even taken a knife for him. He still had the scar to prove it. The more I had given, the more I now hated him. But right now, there was something else I needed to confirm. "Carter, come with me." I led him into an empty conference room and slammed the door, shutting out the curious eyes of our colleagues. As soon as we were inside, Carter dropped to his knees and grabbed my hand. "Logan, please forgive me. If the station loses this interview because of me, I'll be fired. I pulled my hand away. Carter, I'm going to ask you one question, and I want you to answer me honestly. What happened the summer after our freshman year? You were the one who told Blair, weren't you? His eyes darted away. I put the pieces together. It had to be him. But I wasn't sure if he had orchestrated the whole thing. Logan, I don't expect you to forgive me, he said, kneeling on the floor. Whether you believe me or not, I've lived with regret all these years. If you're angry, just hit me. It would make me feel better. He took my hand and tried to hit himself with it. I pulled back, and he slapped himself, hard, leaving a red mark on his face. Carter, you ruined my life. I grabbed his wrist, my voice shaking with rage. Did you set it all up? His eyes filled with terror. No, it wasn't me. I admit I let it slip to Blair, but I had nothing to do with what happened. It wasn't me. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. Carter, I will find out the truth. And if I learn that you were involved, I will make you pay. He stood up and left the room. A group of onlookers was gathered outside the door. They saw Carter kneeling inside, the mark on his face, and immediately assumed I had hit him. Logan, you went too far. You can't just assault people. Carter rushed out. No, Logan didn't hit me. I ran into something. How do you get a handprint from running into something? Lily sneered. He just stole your interview, and you beat him up for it. She even tried to egg him on. Carter, you could press charges for assault. I sighed and said flatly, I didn't touch him. He slept himself. I couldn't stop him. I then took out my phone, snapped a picture of Lily, and sent it to a contact. I'll just let Ms. Sterling see if the woman her husband is looking for happens to be you, I said with a sweet smile. Lily froze. I turned and walked away. I had let her off once. She really shouldn't have pushed her luck. I arrived at the Sterling Enterprises building. Ms. Palmer was waiting for me. Mr. Hayes, Ms. Sterling asked that you go to her office first. I followed her to the private elevator. The doors opened into a room that looked more like a bedroom than an office. Serena was sitting on the sofa, a wounded look on her face. Sleep with me, and then run. Are you always so irresponsible? I laughed. Don't be so dramatic. You got your pleasure out of it too. I looked around the room and noticed it was decorated exactly like Stardust Villa. She came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist, her lips brushing my ear. Why did you come to me last night? I regretted it now. I didn't want to get any more entangled with her, yet I had gone to her willingly. I turned and cupped her beautiful face, giving her a light kiss. For the interview, of course. See? It worked. She frowned. If you don't want to tell me, fine. But you've provoked me again, and this time, I won't let you off so easily. Her kisses rained down on me, and soon I was pinned to the sofa. Don't. We have an interview to do. She restrained herself, her voice husky. Come to Stardust Villa tonight. I thought for a moment, then nodded. You said that last time, she said, her brow furrowed. He smiled. Don't worry. I won't stand you up this time. Soon, the interview began. It was being live-streamed, and as soon as it started, thousands of viewers poured in. Serena Sterling, the daughter of the richest man in the country. I've heard so much about her but never seen her. I heard media outlets from all over the world have been trying to get an interview with her. I can't believe her first public appearance is on our little Chicago station. The national networks must be furious. Who's the interviewer? He's so handsome, he could be a movie star. Serena walked into the room, and the camera focused on her. The live chat went silent for a second, then exploded. Who is this goddess? I need all her information within 1 minute. Oh my god, can someone really be this beautiful? I knew it at first sight. That's my long-lost wife. After a brief introduction, the interview officially began. We mostly discussed the Paradise Resort project. I had studied it extensively and was able to ask insightful, professional questions. Within 20 minutes, the number of viewers had soared to 1 million. Finally, it was time to wrap up. Thank you, Miss Sterling, for joining us, I said with my professional, on-air smile. We have millions of viewers right now who are very curious about you. We selected 3 questions from our audience. Would you be willing to answer them? She smiled and nodded. The first question appeared on the screen. Do you have a boyfriend? I thought the question was a bit too personal. It seems our audience is very interested in Miss Sterling's private life, I said, trying to lighten the mood. If you'd rather not answer, we can choose another question. It's fine, she said. I don't have a boyfriend. Her answer was decisive. He smirked. I had expected as much. In 3 years, I was the only man she had been with. But I certainly couldn't be called her boyfriend. What were we? Not lovers, that implied some kind of feeling. We were just 2 people who craved each other's physical warmth. The second question, what is your type? She thought for a moment. A bad cook, with a mole at the corner of his eye. My heart skipped a beat. So she had someone she liked. I wasn't so arrogant as to think it was me. I had never cooked for her, so she wouldn't know about my culinary skills. And while I did have a tiny mole at the corner of my eye, it was barely visible. She must have had a crush on someone for a long time, and I just happened to resemble him. The live chat went wild. I'm a terrible cook, and I have a mole at the corner of my eye. Miss Sterling, look at me. The third question appeared. It was the same one that had been flooding the chat. Does the person Miss Sterling likes, like her back? I asked. She suddenly turned and looked at me. You silly boy, what do you think? It feigned surprise. I don't know the person you like, so how would I know? But I'm sure he's an outstanding individual. I have admirers lined up from here to Paris, she said with a nod. I found myself genuinely curious about this man who had captured her heart. When she spoke of him, her eyes seemed to light up. The live chat was in a frenzy. I can't believe the great Serena Sterling has a secret crush. It just goes to show, no matter how amazing you are, you're still just as vulnerable when it comes to love. I wonder if the lucky guy even knows. I voiced the question on everyone's mind. So, does Miss Sterling know if the person she likes her back? She smiled. I'm still in Paris. I hope he doesn't make me wait too long. It was a witty, playful response that lightened the mood. I joked back, fortune favors the bold. Go for it, Miss Sterling. You might just succeed. I then turned to the camera, and concluded the interview. Thank you once again to Miss Serena Sterling for joining us. And we wish you the best of luck in your pursuit of love. After the interview, the crew started to pack up. I was about to make a clean exit when Serena grabbed my arm. Use meet and then run. Is that your style? I glanced around. It's time for me to get back to the station. It's still work hours. She looked at her watch. Your station is still open at 11:30. Have lunch with me first. I had no choice but to let the rest of the crew go back without me. Ms. Palmer brought in our food. We ate at the dining table in her office, which was really more of a luxury apartment. A thought occurred to me, and I laughed. What's so funny? She asked, peeling a shrimp. In the 3 years we've known each other, this is the first time we've had lunch together. We had almost always met at night, occasionally having dinner, but never lunch. She placed the peeled shrimp in my bowl. That's because you only saw me as a bed warmer. I was drinking soup and nearly choked. Can we not talk about the past, Miss Sterling? She stared at me. We don't have to talk about the past. What about last night? You came to me out of the blue and took a shot at me. What was that all about? She spoke slowly, but her tone was serious. This time, I really did choke. After I had recovered, I said, I'm sorry. I was a little emotional yesterday. I promise it won't happen again. She frowned. So I was just supposed to take it. I was at a loss for words. Logan Hayes, do you want to be my boyfriend? I'm married, I blurted out. She laughed. You call that a marriage? Is it even legally recognized? I was surprised. You know everything. She nodded. After a moment, she asked, Blair Monroe doesn't love you, does she? You know she doesn't. Instead of wasting your time on someone who will never come back, you should find someone else. I think we're a good match. I looked at her and smiled. To be honest, Miss Sterling, you're very good in bed. She frowned. I had just complimented her on her best quality, and all I could remember was her skill in bed. We can continue to be together, I said, on one condition. She pouted. What condition? No strings attached. No talking about feelings. Just fun. We don't interfere in each other's private lives. She didn't look happy. So you don't want to have feelings for me, you just want to sleep with me. I nodded. I know we have some sort of connection, otherwise we wouldn't have been entangled for 3 years. But our statuses are too different. We could never be together in the end. Besides, I had too many secrets. I had long since stopped believing in everlasting love. I had known Blair for over 25 years, and we had gone from childhood sweethearts to strangers. What in this world doesn't change? Seeing she was still not pleased, I said with a faint smile, if you don't agree, then forget it. She gave a lazy nod. Then move into Stardust Villa first. I was surprised she agreed. I need to take care of a few things first. After that, I'll move in. She didn't say anything more. I got back to the station in the afternoon. Director Matthews rushed over to greet me. Logan, you're a true hero of our station. The response to the interview has been incredible. The ratings were record-breaking, and the advertising slots for the show are in a bidding war. The national network even called to ask for our secret. The station manager wants to give you a bonus. I smiled. It's all for the good of the station. My colleagues crowded around me. Logan, you were amazing. The phones in the news department have been ringing off the hook. Everyone was flying over me. Only Carter sat in the distance, silently watching. That evening, I returned to the Monroe's old house. I first went to the study to chat with Grandpa, as I always did, then went back to my room and started packing. It was time to leave. I hadn't stayed at the Monroe house every night, so my occasional absences were not unusual. But this time, I was leaving for good. I had lived here for 3 years, and a part of me was sad to go. The Monroes had treated me like their own son, giving me a safe harbor during the most difficult time of my life. Sometimes I thought, if Blair had never come back, I could have happily lived with the Monroes for the rest of my life. But since her return, everything had slowly gone off track. My thoughts were interrupted by the door being thrown open. Blair stood there, furious. She rushed forward and shoved me. I was sitting on the floor, packing, and the push sent me sprawling. Blair, what is wrong with you? I shouted, not holding back. Logan, how dare you ask me that? It wasn't enough for you to steal Carter's interview. You had to publicly humiliate him too. I slowly got to my feet. Did Carter tell you he stole his interview? She glared at me. He didn't have to. I know you. You've been competitive since we were kids. Whatever I did, you had to do too, and you had to be better. You love taking what belongs to others. Her lip curled in a sneer. You were like that with me, so I can only imagine what you're like with others. It was true. When we were young, She took up golf, and I joined in for fun, but I always played better. The next year, she quit golf and started playing Go. I learned too, and ended up winning national and international competitions. She was so angry she never played again. It seemed her entire childhood had been lived in my shadow. I was surprised she brought up our childhood. I had only ever wanted to spend more time with her, which is why I took up her hobbies. I never intended to surpass her or take anything from her. I had never cared about fame or glory. I never knew she thought of me that way. But there was no point in explaining now. No matter what I say, you won't believe me, I sighed. Your heart and eyes are only for Carter. I paused. If that's the case, let's go our separate ways. She laughed, her sneer deepening. Threatening me again. Logan, can't you come up with something new? I looked at her seriously. This time, it's for real. I'm moving out tonight. I'll explain to Grandpa and everyone else later. Just then, the housekeeper called us for dinner. The atmosphere was tense. I put down my chopsticks halfway through the meal. Everyone looked at me. Logan, Mrs. Monroe said, what is it? Thank you all for taking care of me for the past 3 years, I began. I'm planning to move out tonight. Mrs. Monroe's face fell. She immediately turned on Blair. What did you do now? Did you upset him? Blair and I have decided to separate, I said, stopping her. You're getting a divorce? Mrs. Monroe asked, incredulous. Actually, we were never legally married, I said calmly. So it's not a divorce. Everyone was stunned. What do you mean? Mr. Monroe asked. He had a marriage certificate. It's in the drawer at home. It's a fake, I replied. I bought it online for $9.99, shipping included. Mr. Monroe's face darkened. Grandpa had forced Blair to marry me. The day we were supposed to go to the courthouse, she had a change of heart. To appease the family, I had a fake certificate made. We had never been husband and wife. Mrs. Monroe stood up and slapped Blair on the shoulder. It was you, wasn't it? Blair remained silent, her face grim. She hadn't expected me to be serious this time. Mom, don't hit her, I said. It's not her fault. She doesn't love me. Even though we're separating, you will always be my family. But you can't force love. My father comforted my crying mother. Maybe a separation is for the best. It will give them time to cool off. My mother nodded through her tears. I loaded my luggage into the car. After saying goodbye to everyone, I was about to leave when Blair followed me out. I opened the car door, and she grabbed my arm. Logan, have you made your point? I laughed. You think this is all a show? I pulled my arm away and got in the car. He started the engine, rolled down the window, and smiled up at her. Blair, this time, I'm really letting you go. I wish you and Carter all the happiness in the world. With that, I drove away, the Mercedes-Benz disappearing from the Monroe's old house. Blair stood in the driveway for a long time. She had always hated my constant pestering. But now that I was really gone, she felt an emptiness inside. And that final smile, so free of sadness or joy, as if all our history had been wiped clean, left a tightness in her chest. Logan Hayes, she whispered, can you really let go? Or is this just another act for everyone to see?